Yes, if God is for you, who can be against you? Are you excited about that today? Yeah. And I love my pastor. I love what God is doing for him. I will not go into theology, but I'm not saying God sent that storm or anything, but I'm happy for a God extended rest, for God forced extended rest for our pastors. I mean, God knows they work harder and more devoted than most people I ever met, and they deserve some rest. So when he called me yesterday and said they're snowed in the Rocky Mountains, I didn't feel like, oh shoot, I feel like God bless you. God bless you, Pastor. Come on now. You deserve that. So as he said, keep praying for him. Just bless him and Pastor Melissa and their travel back here the next few days. But let's just continue to pray that they get all the rest that they need and deserve at this time. And Pastor started an amazing series last week called God is for You. And we are praying that this series will be a breath of fresh air for our church family, for you, for me, and that we will just feel encouraged and be reminded of God's love and goodness for us. Because Pastor shared something heartbreaking statistics last week when we started this, and he said that 50% of the people in our nation are walking around believing that God is against us, right? And we believe that God is mad at us. And over 70% of the Christian population in America, some part of the year, some time of the year, if not the whole year, will feel like I have disappointed God, or I have failed God, that I did something wrong, that God is not pleased with me, that God is probably against me. No, listen, God is for you. He's for you. It's a lie from the enemy when we walk around with that condemnation, because that belief come from, where does it come from? Well, there are a lot of theories, and it's probably individual for each and every one of us when we feel that. Maybe it was from a parent who was difficult to please, and then we will look to God as that parent, that father who is difficult to please. Or maybe it's pain from rejection or something else, or even a church or Christians around you that were sent to actually encourage you and support you and lift you up, but they actually started to give you bad theology and bad experiences. So whoever you are, wherever you are in life now, I believe you're here to hear about God and how He's for you. Maybe this is your first time with us here at Reach Church. I hope you understand Swinglish, but because I'm gonna give you a lot today. But there is no other thing that will paralyze Christians more than that sense and lie of condemnation. Both you and I have experienced it many times when we feel condemned, we have failed God, that we have disappointed God, that we are not good enough. There is no worse feeling than that. There is actually no worse feeling than to disappoint or fail someone that you love. I mean, it might be your kids, it might be your spouse, it might be a friend, and you fail to fulfill a commitment, or you forget something and you feel terrible, right? If it's a good friend, they will forgive you and you move on and all of that, but that feeling that I failed someone I love. So when that's with God, that would paralyze you and I. So many of us, and statistically speaking, most of us have experienced, if we're not experiencing that feeling right now. But I have good news for you today. No matter what you felt when you walked in here, maybe you even hesitated coming to church today thinking like, I don't belong there, I'm not good enough to come. There are great people at Reach Church and I feel like a fake when I'm there. Maybe that was your mindset when you walked in here. But I'm telling you today, I believe that when you leave, when you walk out of these doors today, you will know that God is not mad at you. You will know that God is for you and not against you. God is not disappointed at you. He's not even annoyed at you at this point, right? He is for you. And to get to that point today, the only way to understand it, it's not for Pastor Chris to tell you or me to tell you that God is for you. No, it's the Bible telling us that. It's the words of God. It's His words telling us that He's for us. And He never breaks a promise. So He's never telling us a lie. So to get to that point today, I want to take you on a journey through an amazing story in the Bible that will illustrate God's love and passion for you and I today. So let's start in 1 Samuel chapter 18, and it includes now the life of David. This is before he was king, and by the end of the story we will see what he did when he was made king. But it begins like this: when he's a shepherd boy, when he's a teenage boy, it says this: after David had finished talking with Saul, the king of the nation, he met Jonathan, the king's son. And there was an immediate bond between them, for Jonathan loved David. It was an immediate bond, chemistry working together, right? An instant friendship that just took place. Have you experienced that? I believe you have. You walk into a room with someone and all of a sudden you just know, I don't know this guy, but he will be my best friend. Like, I just know it. I feel it. It's in the air. I believe we all had that experience. I had that experience all across the world in different cultures and different nations, and you just meet someone and you know there is an instant bond. So David and Jonathan experienced this. So they took it so far to that degree that 2 verses down it says, and Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as he loved himself. A covenant is something powerful in the Bible. You became blood brothers, and not in a childish way that we might see, you know, when we were boys or girls and young, like we are blood brothers. No, this was the real deal. When you made a covenant with someone in the Bible, you said that everything I have and everything I am belongs to you. You can use it. It's for you. I'm for you. So that was an unbreakable relationship. Only death could separate it. You became closer than friends. You even became closer than family. You became something new. You devoted yourself. You committed yourself to always helping, always supporting, always assisting, always serving your covenant friend, right? You got his back. You will stand for him for life. So this is what happened here between David and Jonathan. Beautiful thing. One problem though. Jonathan's dad, the king, Saul, he was insecure in his leadership, and he felt threatened of a lot of people around him that showed any strength in life. And he saw something in this young shepherd boy, teenage boy named David. So he felt threatened by him. So Saul, the king, he decided, I don't want to feel this way, so let's kill him. That's a big problem, all right? I have many great friends with awkward parents. But nothing like this though. Like David, he experienced it. No one tried to kill me that I know of yet. At least I've been walking around like, no, I have not experienced. But I've experienced other things. Like I've met weird parents to great friends of mine that are, you know, I found them in the middle of the night eating my Bluebell ice cream from my freezer. I'm like, what the heck are you doing? That's my Bluebell. Like I was saving that for Sunday. Come on. You know what I feel like? That's a bad feeling. But I mean, for David's life, he took it to a whole new level right now. Saul tried to kill David. So what did David do? I mean, he had the right on his side. He hadn't done anything wrong. He had the friends. He was building an army around him. He had the strength to defend himself. But you know what he did? He fled. He hid. He ran. Because David understood something important. He didn't run because he was a coward, but he ran because he understood the power of the covenant he had made with Jonathan. With that covenant, he had promised Jonathan with his own life that I will not only protect and help you, but I will bless your entire family. Now, Jonathan's family, part of it, happened to be against David, but that didn't change David's promise. He had promised to protect and to serve and to help. So all he could do was running, fleeing. So he did it for years. I'm telling you, many years when you read this story. And you will be frustrated. Come on, David, be a man. Stand your ground. Come on, you can kill him. You got the right. God blessed you. He didn't bless Saul. But David, he knew better, right? He knew one thing. The revenge is not mine, it's the Lord's, right? I might be unfairly treated right now, but God's got my side. God is with me. If God is with me, who can be against me? So he left to God. And you and I need to learn that many times in life, right? We have not yet been experiencing what he experienced here, but we have enemies in life. We face persecution on different levels, but you know what Jesus said? Pray for your enemies. Bless those who persecute you. Oh my God, yes.
because the revenge is the Lord's. I don't have any right to take revenge on anyone because Jesus forgave me. I'm called to forgive others. I have no choice. It's not my choice to forgive. It's my duty. It's my call. It's my divine purpose to forgive other people around me and pray for them and bless them. David knew this. So he prayed for Saul and he hid for years, and the revenge is the Lord. And eventually, many years later, Saul was killed in a battle, in a war against the Philistines. And his son, the crown prince Jonathan, David's best friend, was killed in the same battle. So the king and the crown prince was killed, and the people understood, the people could see what God had placed on David's life. So David was now the new king. He was made the new king after the death of the king and the crown prince. So God had all of this in his hand. He took care of it. We don't have to worry. So David was made king. Well, it took many years. There was turmoil. He needed to defeat a few enemies. But a few years later, when the nation is united, when he can finally sit down on his throne and relax and start to reign, he's got one question. One of the absolute first questions that he had on his mind, that he's been carrying in his heart since he first met Jonathan. And he says this in 2 Samuel 9:1. He says, listen, David asked, this is right after every enemy is defeated, when he can start to take care of business, right? Is there anyone still left of the house of Saul to whom I can show kindness for Jonathan's sake? Another translation for kindness will be love. Another Bible translation says mercy, grace, blessings, overflow. Is there someone I can show goodness to? The Hebrew word, I don't speak Hebrew, but my dictionary does, it's chesed. And chesed means covenant love. Is there someone I can show God's unconditional love to because of the promise and the covenant I made with Jonathan? Jonathan may be dead, but I promised to fulfill my part of the covenant till I died. So is there someone there? I have love pulsating in my heart, like radiating. I want to give it to someone. Is there someone still there? He asks. One of the first things when he's king. And you know what that is? That is God looking for you, looking for me, searching for us. He wants, God's will is to pour His chesed, His kindness, His love, His blessing, His overflow into our life. God is looking right now. Is there anyone there at Reed Church to whom I can show chesed? He wants to pour it out over your life. God is for you. And then it says this in verse 2. Now there was a servant of Saul's household named Ziba. They summoned him to appear David. They knew David is serious, the king is serious. We need to find someone that knows if someone is still alive. And the king said to him, are you Ziba? At your service, he replied. The king asked, is there no one still alive from the house of Saul to whom I can show God's kindness, His overflow, His love? Ziba answered the king, well, there is still a son of Jonathan. He is lame in both feet. There is a son of Jonathan? Yeah, you've been running too many years, David. You didn't know that he got a son, you know, a few years after you separated, and he's famous, he's lame in both feet, and he's kind of hiding because he's terrified right now. Right? He's got a son. Are you serious? So where is he? The king asked. Ziba answered, he's at the house of Machir, son of Amiel in Lo Debar. So this is the first time David hears about the son of his best friend. They've been separated too long, so he never knew that Jonathan had a son before he died. So David is now excited, and Mephibosheth is the son's name. Mephibosheth was born in the palace when Saul was still king. So he was the grandson of the king. He was the son of the crown prince. He was born into the royal family, and one day he would become king himself. That was the plan in the family. So this boy grew up with everything he ever needed, with riches, with safety, with love around him, with people serving him, with influence, right? He had it all. He had the iPhone 7 when he was 5, right? He had a PlayStation 4 when no other kids at school had it. He had a 3D printer. Like, I don't even know what that's for yet, but he had one. You know what I'm saying? He had it all. Spoiled little boy, right? Loved, spoiled. But now, here's what happened when he was a boy. You know, his grandfather died when he was about 5. Saul died in that battle when Mephibosheth was about 5. But the first couple of years of his life, some nights the grandfather, King Saul, would walk into little Mephibosheth's bedroom and sit by his bedside late at night and tell him scary stories, like every grandparent does, right? I don't know, but just tell him scary stories. And he would tell the true story, but a lie, about this awful man that is trying to snatch the kingdom from your granddaddy. This awful man that is against our family, that would try to kill us and steal everything we have. His name is David. Watch out for that evil man, David. And little Mephibosheth will hear about this. Is David really? He's real and he's coming after us. We have to destroy him before he destroys. And Mephibosheth will be terrified, right? Oh my gosh, who is this evil beast David, right? And then granddaddy dies, daddy dies on the battlefield, and the Bible describes how the worst nightmare of Mephibosheth's life come true. The Bible describes how the news of the king's death on the battlefield reaches the palace late at night, in the middle of the night, and panic strikes the whole castle, right? Everyone in that royal court, in that palace, had been fed with the same lie that David is after us, that David is trying to take everything we have and he will kill everyone associated with King Saul. That was a lie. David never tried to do that, but they thought so. So in the middle of the night, panic strikes, they are fleeing, and the nanny of Mephibosheth is running into little boy's bedroom, and in the middle of the night just snatches him, grabs him violently and starts running, okay? I don't know if you've seen a 5-year-old sleep, but it's usually peaceful. It's supposed to be peaceful, and if you would wake them up in the middle of the night, they will be terrified. So here he is now, violently snatched from his bed. He just wakes up and all he sees is darkness, and he hears screams around him that David is coming, we have to run. Traumatizing for the little boy, right? But that's not all. But the Bible describes when they're running there in the middle of the night in panic, in stress, in fear, the nanny trips and she drops the boy as she's running, and he falls so bad that both his feet are broken. He breaks both feet. So the little boy, the little 5-year-old boy now is not just traumatized by fear to wake up in the middle of the night running in the dark, but now this terrible pain, and it breaks both of his feet, and they don't even have time to stay and take care of it. There's no hospital. They don't even have time for a band-aid because they need to keep running, right? So he's screaming of pain and fear, and that's all he knows by now, right? He was dropped in life. So eventually they reaches this place called Lo-debar. Lo-debar means nowhere in Hebrew. It was a refugee camp. It was dirty, it was poor, dirt floors, no good food, no beds, no hygiene. And that's where they hide, and that becomes his home for the next few years now. For the next 15 years, that's where he lives, hiding, terrified of King David. He believes that David is mad at him. He believes this lie that David is against him, that David wants to destroy his life. He lost everything. He had it all. He lost it all. Now he's laying there late at night feeling useless, a failure. He cannot even walk. He was a prince in the castle, and now he's living in a dirty refugee camp with nothing. Nothing. That's his reality, right? And maybe you experience something, hopefully not extreme like this, but something similar in life. Maybe you've been dropped in life. Someone else did something but you faced the consequences of it. You see what I'm saying? The nanny dropped him. He didn't do anything wrong, but he faced the consequences of it. His life was falling apart. Maybe someone has treated you unjustly. Maybe someone you loved and trusted betrayed you. Someone dropped you in life. Maybe your parents failed to raise you and give you a home of safety and love. Whatever it is, things happen to us. And for some of you, it leads you to a place when you start to question God. God is mad at me. God is against me. Why would He allow this to happen to me. But listen, God is not against you, He's for you. Here comes now the part 2, the beautiful end to this story that I want you to bring home with you today. Because this happens now when David hears about this, he sends his soldiers right away. So King David had him brought from Lo-debar, from the house of Machir son of Ammiel. So one day it knocks at his door and his greatest fear happens. The soldiers of the kings are standing there and they ask, are you Mephibosheth? Yes, I am, right? The king requests your presence. And they grab him and they start to lead him to the palace. Greatest nightmare, he was convinced, he knew this is my last day on earth. Now the king found me, he will bring me before him, he will destroy my life, he will execute me, probably torture me because of all the things my grandfather did against him. Now he will take the revenge on me. He knew it. So he's brought before the king. But this happens. When Mephibosheth, son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, came to David, he bowed down to pay him honor. David said, Mephibosheth, I am your servant, he replied. Don't be afraid. Listen now, God is speaking to you today. God is speaking to your heart right now. I feel it. Don't be afraid, David said to him, for I will surely show you kindness for the sake of your father Jonathan. I will restore to you all the land that belonged to your grandfather Saul, and you will always eat at my table. He believed he was brought before the king to be executed, tortured, hated, mocked, to feel the king's wrath and anger and revenge. Instead, he hears this. No. I will restore you. I will give everything back to you. And guess what? You will sit at my table and eat with me. You will belong to the king's table. That's where you belong. That's who you are. I believe Mephibosheth couldn't believe what he heard in this situation. He didn't trust the words, but after a while he probably looked up and he saw the eyes of the king, and he saw the love radiating, flowing from the king's face, and he realized this is real. The king is giving all of this to me. And the king continued, David continued, you will get 36 servants, and you will get all the estate, you will get all the possessions that belong to your grandfather. And he's probably thinking, why? Did I deserve this? Did I earn this? The answer is no. You did not deserve it. You didn't earn it. You didn't do anything to get it, but you received it because of a king's love and the king's promise. That's why you received it. That's why he gave it to you. So David restores Mephibosheth because of the love and the covenant, the promise he had. So this anxiety-driven, useless, no self-value, depressed, sick, poor young man was restored to be a prince in the kingdom. And when I read this story, I close my eyes and I try to imagine the first night when they bring him from the encounter with the king up to his new suite in the palace, and they give him the first bath he had in 15 years. They shave him, they cut his hair, and they dress him in this royal robe, you know, a prince clothes, and they give him crutches for the first time. He's still lame on his feet, and he comes a few minutes late to that dinner. He walks into that dining hall, beautiful set table. The king is already there. All his sons are there. And when Mephibosheth walks in, I believe David stood up. Mephibosheth, my son, come on in here. Oh guys, this is Mephibosheth I've been telling you about. This is your new brother. His father was Jonathan, my best friend in life I told you so much about. Now you receive him as a brother today. Come on, Mephibosheth, sit here next to me. You will always eat at my table. You know what that is? That is the king speaking to you today. Can I preach for a minute for you? You know, listen, I was that dead dog in my own eyes. I was that useless, dropped in life, no value, reeking of sin child. You know, that was me. Not because I was the worst sinner in the world, but because I had no relationship with the king. I was living in Lo-debar. I was living in my own pain and my own filth and my own filthy rags of spiritual clothes. But one day, Jesus found me. I didn't even have to go and look for Him because He was searching for me. He's searching for you right now. And He found me and He brought me back to life. He dressed me in His clothes, washed me clean. He restored me to be a prince in His kingdom. And He said, Daniel, come, sit with me. You can eat at my table. I will give you forever value. I will give you forever life. I will restore you. And I realized something that day. And I want you to realize the same thing today. This is my prayer. That God, He's not mad at you. He's mad about you. He's mad about you. He's so mad about you that He gave His own Son. He sacrificed the best He had to find you. But there are too many Mephibosheth Christians in our nation today, living in darkness, living in filth and lack and pain and regret and shame and guilt. But the King has invited you. He found you. He said, you don't belong there. You belong at my table. The King is not against you. The King is not mad at you. Whatever lies you've been feeding yourself with, whatever lies someone else fed you with that made you think that the King is against me, God is against me, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve anything. Look, Mephibosheth came, you know, stumbling into that palace. He was reeking, but you know what? He received a hug. He received a kiss. The King restored him. That's you. That's me. That's not for a few exclusive people. That's what God did for every single human being on this planet. Let's close our eyes. I want to pray with you right now. The Bible says if God is for you, who can be against you? So it's not my message. It's not my nice little idea that God is for you. It's the Word of God. It's God Himself saying, I'm for you. And then He continues to say in the following verse, He says, if God did not spare His own Son but gave Him for all of us, how could He do anything but give us all with Jesus? It's Romans 8:32. So today He's inviting you to that dining table. He's inviting you to be a part of His family. He's got a seat reserved for you. Maybe you received that invitation many years ago. Maybe you accepted the invitation. Maybe you RSVP said, yes, that's me. I want that, God. But then you stayed in Lo-debar, or you went back to Lo-debar. You went back to that place of nowhere. You got comfortable in that place because you felt that I don't belong in a royal kingdom. Yes, you do. That's who you are. That's what you created to be. So today He's calling you back. Even if you said yes to Jesus many years ago, today He's knocking at your door again, at your heart, and saying, come back, come home. You are a daughter, you're a son in my kingdom. You belong at my table. Come against all the lies that you've been fed with. Or maybe this is the first time you hear that invitation today. Maybe you never opened your heart up for Jesus. Maybe you never said, yes, Jesus, I need you in my life. I need your forgiveness. I need your life. I need your purpose. I need your help. Whoever you are in those two categories today, I will count to 3. And when I come to 3, I want you to lift your hand and say, yes, that's me. And I want to pray with you wherever you're sitting. I will not call you forward. I will pray with you right where you're at right now. And that prayer will open the door to the kingdom of heaven for you today. So with every eye closed, 1, make your hand ready. 2, lift it up to Jesus right now. 3, lift it to Him. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. A lot of hands are going up. Anyone else? Thank you. Keep it up. Hold it up. Don't be ashamed. Now you're being restored to life. Anyone else? Just thank you. Let's take that hand now and put it on your heart. Because right now we're going to pray that prayer. We're going to meet with our King right now. And I want the whole church to pray with us. Let's say this. Father God, thank you for your love. Thank you for your Son. Jesus, I believe in you. I believe in your sacrifice. Forgive me of my sins. Give me a fresh start. Give me a new beginning. Let me receive your love today, your life, your purpose. Today, I will follow you. And from today, I will eat at your table. In Jesus' name, amen. Come on, can we put our hands together for all the precious people who made that decision today? Beautiful, wonderful.